Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
A man accused of carrying out the Finsbury Park terror attack wanted to kill as many Muslims as possible, a court heard today. Prosecutors say Darren Osborne from Cardiff decided to take matters into his own hands after growing angry at a rise in Islamist attacks and the Rotherham child sex scandal. 51-year-old Makram Ali died and 9 others were injured when they were hit by a van last June. Garrett Vincent reports.
Last summer, towards the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, a court was told today, Darren Osborne drove across London looking for Muslims to kill. Just after midnight, says the prosecution in this case, he found some. A group of worshippers had just finished night prayers. They'd gathered around a man who had collapsed on the street. As they tried to help him, a large white van suddenly turned off the road, up onto the pavement and ploughed into them. 9 people were badly hurt. The van drove straight over the man they were trying to help. And 51-year-old Makram Ali died of his injuries. In the hours after the attack, which took place on this corner in the Finsbury Park area of London, the court was told that the police recovered from the van some evidence of Osborne's motives. It was a note that the defendant had written in which he complained about what he called the terrorists on our streets. He claimed that the ideology of Islam does not belong here.
What there is a child who's been abused.
The court also heard evidence from Osborne's girlfriend at the time, who said he'd become obsessed with Muslims after watching the BBC drama 3 Girls, which was based on the true stories of the victims of the Rochdale grooming gangs, whose members were mainly men of British Pakistani origin. Osborne grew angry and, the court was told, after the attacks by Muslim extremists in Manchester and London, he started visiting far-right websites and was brainwashed. By June the 19th last year, says the prosecution, he wanted to kill as many Muslims as possible. Osborne denies charges of murder and attempted murder. Garrett Vincent, ITV News.
Now, a man accused of driving into a crowd of worshippers in 2 North London mosques wanted to kill as many Muslims as possible. Krishnan has that story.
Prosecutors said that Darren Osborne had become angry over rising terrorism and the Rotherham child exploitation scandal and decided to take matters into his own hands. He's been charged with the murder of 51-year-old Makram Ali and the attempted murder of others, as Ed Hauker reports.
It was a little after midnight on the 19th of June last year, Ramadan, when the Luton box van hit a group of Muslims leaving worship near the Finsbury Park Mosque in Islington. 1 man died, others were seriously injured. Another tragedy following incidents at London Bridge, Westminster Bridge, and of course the Manchester Arena bombing. The alleged driver was held by the local community until the police arrived. Woolwich Crown Court is hearing the case.
Darren Osborne went on trial today for the murder of Makram Ali and attempted murder of persons at the junction of Seven Sisters Road and Wadcote Street in Islington last summer. Jonathan Rees QC for the prosecution told the jury, although there's no terrorist offence for you to consider, this act of extreme violence was indeed an act of terrorism.
Unemployed, suffering from depression and anxiety, Darren Osborne, the prosecution said, was a man inspired to murder by far-right online propaganda. The court heard that his hatred for Muslims was catalysed by the BBC drama 3 Girls about the Rochdale grooming scandal, and his plot to kill Muslims was conceived days before the attack. The prosecution gave the jury their timeline of his activities. On Saturday, the 17th of June, Darren Osborne collected a vehicle from a van hire firm in South Wales. That evening, he drank at the Hollybush pub in Pentwyn, where, it's also claimed, he penned a letter. Around 7 a.m. the next day, he left for London. It's also alleged he first headed to a march in the West End in support of Palestine. By 8 p.m, he'd crossed the Thames, heading for the Lewisham Islamic Centre. Turning north, he arrived in Finsbury Park at 11:30. 45 minutes later, it's also claimed, he drove into a group of people standing just off Seven Sisters Road. They had gathered around this man, Makram Ali, who'd collapsed moments before the van arrived. The community were helping him, say the prosecution, when Osborne's van struck. The following morning, Labour's leader Jeremy Corbyn, as well as the Mayor of London, paid their respects. The prosecution said Osborne had complaints against both men. They point to a note they say Osborne wrote, full of fury and broken grammar. Where was the public outrage after 1,400 of our white British non-Muslim girls? Where were you in Rotherham, Lily Allen, Jeremy Corbyn? Nowhere to be seen. And the Mayor was taunted. So, Mr. Sadiq Khan, how are you this morning? I imagine you're going to have a hard job keeping your happy-go-lucky, vibrant city in order. Mrs. Justice Chima Grave, presiding, asked the jury to consider if the case has a context of racial or religious hatred. Mr. Osborne, who spoke to confirm his name, denies all charges.
I've been